Trevon Diggs sent packing? Happy New Year. And 3 huge games in the NFL. Winner take all. The Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital Live starts right now.
Let's go! It's time for the talk to you. 'Cause it's all we're gonna do. And Boy Green is always on the scene. And we're gonna always bring it to you live, singing. So get ready. Get ready, 'cause here they come.
All right, welcome aboard, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's the live show, Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Jump right into the comments. You got things to say, places to go, people to see, and Happy New Year, everybody. Tonight, the ball will drop in Times Square. I understand temperatures will be very, very cold. Boy Green, Paul Esden Jr. along with me, and every Wednesday we talk all things NFL with our NFL insider from PFF. Today's broadcast, by the way, brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet, where you can save 30 to 70% off of your next mattress or sofa. Let's bring him in. Dalton Wasserman from PFF. What's up, Dalton? How are you?
Not much, guys. Happy New Year. How we doing?
Hey, by the way, I see that the PFF overlords gave you a Christmas present there on your head, so very nice. Hope you had a Merry Christmas, Dalton.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with a new hat, man. That's basically 90% of my life I spend wearing hats, so anytime I get a new one, I feel good.
Tell this terrible story to start things off, and then we'll get into football.
Okay, you are going to do it. Okay.
Yeah, you know the story, Boy Green, right? All right, I've never shared it on in the digital world, but I will. I did venture into Times Square one year for the Happy New Year celebration. It was similar kind of circumstances to tonight, at least in terms of climate. It was a very chilly, cold night. I remember being bundled up and wearing like 2 jackets and 2 pairs of gloves, just crazy stuff, ski hat, covering most of my body. Figured I got to do this once in a lifetime. I'm a native New Yorker. I got to do the ball. And we're about, 10, 9, we're counting down, Dalton. Literally, the seconds are ticking here. The ball is about to plummet, and we're about to say Happy New Year. And as all that's going on, some clown in the crowd, because you're packed in there like sheep, you can't move. I mean, you literally are like, okay, don't knock me over kind of thing, right? Throws his fist in the air and clocks me right in the eyeball. All right. And down I go, like down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier, down goes Lurch, right? Then down goes Manchild in the middle of Times Square. Now I'm below all these people who are going crazy. Now I was with a group of friends, so my friends are now trying to kind of protect me from getting trampled, and wondering why the heck I've fallen to the ground. Of course, I have no idea who has clocked me. Okay, for New Year's in the eye, but somebody just decided they wanted to be some kind of street thug and let somebody have it, and I guess I was the victim of it. Never found out who my whoever hit me was. Never found out who that guy was, the culprit, I was going to say. And so, yeah, that was my Happy New Year in Times Square, albeit to say I've never gone back since, and much more enjoy now watching it on television and seeing if someone else is going to get punched in the face, literally at the stroke of midnight. Embarrassing, weird stuff.
A couple of quick follow-ups here, Lurch. I don't know if you can answer these, but do you believe someone said, "Oh, it'd be funny if I sucker punch someone,"
yes,
and then they're just there, or you sort of described it like a fist come out, did someone just go, "Yeah, New Year"?
No. This was a punch.
This was a targeted attack
to hurt another human being, and I had to get a fist. Yes. So no, that was not some Happy New Year celebrator and like, oh, sorry, poked you in the eye. No, that was not one of those, Boy Green. This was a violent act. There are reasons why people sometimes don't like New York City and don't like what New York City brings, and that would be one of those moments right there.
Well, a similarly violent act happened with the Dallas Cowboys, dumping Trevon Diggs, a 2-time Pro Bowl corner, around the Christmas holiday. Now, Dalton, we've heard a lot of weird stuff here that from different Cowboys reporters that Trevon says, hey, they played, of course, on Christmas Day in the Washington area for that game. And Trevon said, hey, I want to stick around here with the family. and just stay after the game. And, it's sort of a mini bye. The team isn't going to do anything crazy when they head back. And the Cowboys rejected it, said, no, we're a team. We fly in together. We fly out together. And Trevon Diggs apparently told the Cowboys to suck it. Says, all right, no, I'm not getting on the plane. I'm staying here with the family. Cowboys end up cutting him. And now Trevon Diggs is on waivers. He could be claimed today, but from all the insiders, it sounds like that's very unlikely. So he will then be a free agent once he clears waivers and will be able to pick his next location. Dalton, what is your reaction to this? I mean, Trevon Diggs, the Cowboys thought of him pretty highly a couple years ago. Him and his son were the star of Hard Knocks, the cute kid, and now all of a sudden he's in the streets. He's looking for a new job.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he just hasn't produced at a level commensurate with the contract extension that they gave him, right? And in football, no matter who you are, that's really what it's about, is living up to what they're paying you. And once you get past that guaranteed salary, then a team can cut you loose. Obviously it's an unfortunate part of the business. It's a very cold part of the business. But, between the injuries and just the lack of production that Diggs has given him for the last year or two, I get it. Now, it's kind of weird that it comes before the season even ends, as opposed to sometime in the offseason. Maybe there's a post-June 1 cut situation. I haven't looked at the details in his contract recently, but it is something where it's just like these two parties seem to need to separate. And I do wonder if he went to them and said, hey, just cut me now so I can find somewhere to play. I'm healthy enough to play. Let me go to a playoff team or something like that. But it just really feels like there's been a lot of friction, especially over the last year and a half between these two.
So with that being said, Dalton, from all accounts, he's fully healthy. A team doesn't have to claim him off waivers. They could just sign him as a free agent before the playoffs start. Is there a playoff team in your mind that has a need at the cornerback position and suddenly a 2-time Pro Bowler just became available and he can just jump on the train, go ring chasing, and go to a team where they could use him and he would be a good fit there? Do any team or teams stick out in your mind as a fit?
I think there's a couple that jump out to me, both of them in the NFC. One, and I know one that's been talked about most often with this, is the Green Bay Packers. They just don't have a ton of depth at that cornerback position on the outside. I like Keyshawn Nixon. I like Carrington Valentine, but they need help out there, especially with the lack of pass rush they have now with Micah Parsons. And, the one team, and it would really stick it in the craw of Dallas, but I wonder about the Philadelphia Eagles, right? The weakest spot on their team has been that other outside corner spot opposite Quinyon Mitchell. It's been Adoree Jackson. They've tried Kelly Ringo. They've just haven't been able to lock down that spot and find a productive, consistent starter there. I do wonder if maybe Vic Fangio says, you know what, this kid's still talented. Give him a flyer. Let's see if he can rotate in and give us 15 to 20 snaps a game, or maybe even play better than that and be a playoff hero for us. I think Green Bay and Philadelphia are two that make a lot of sense.
Dalton, also the circumstances of this are a little bit unusual in the sense that it's kind of unusual that a player who's already in a town and is going to have a bunch of days off is not allowed to stay there, particularly when it's their hometown and their family's there. So this guy wasn't asking for something unbelievable. He was just kind of asking for a courtesy. Now, I don't know how he asked, and I don't know what the circumstances were around it, but boy, oh boy, it just seems to me like Dallas kind of popped the gasket on this one that didn't seem to be a gasket popping kind of issue. Give me your thoughts on that.
Look, every team and every head coach does things differently, right? There's some coaches, I'm sure, that believe, look, the whole team flies back together and then you figure it out from there. And Trevon had even apparently said to them, hey, if I go back to Dallas, I'm just going to get the first flight back out anyway. I don't know if the team had any planned activities over the weekend or not. So I think it's just a matter of every team doing things their own way. And then obviously it just shows you the type of friction between the player and the team, right? Where, if it's somebody who was obviously more well-respected and had a better relationship with them, maybe they let it slide. If it's somebody, like a Dak Prescott or somebody like that, but it just kind of shows you where the relationship had deteriorated to, that something like this was the end of it.
And, we'll jump into week 18. There's other player storylines we could get to. Now, some of these are duds. Like, there's teams waving the white flag that are clearly tanking. They may bench players in the middle of a game, so it makes it very difficult to pick. Good luck to us, as we have to do that later this week. But there are plenty of delectable games that are going to be phenomenal. Let's go to Saturday first. We have a playoff game between the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers or Panthers have a chance to win the NFC South with a Falcons wrinkle, which, Dalton, I know me and you were tweeting about, so you can feel free to throw that into the mix, how that factors in here. But one of these two teams is going to be in the playoffs, and one of them are going to be home. So what are your thoughts on this? And then also explain to the fans this interesting Falcons wrinkle, which is bizarre.
It is such a fitting end to what has been a wild roller coaster of a division. Obviously, the Bucs looking so good the first half of the year, and now they've lost 7 of their last 8 games. And Carolina has alternated wins and losses since week 7, and we have no idea what team they are going, which Carolina team is going to show up on a week-to-week basis. But essentially, yeah, you have if Carolina wins, they win the division. It's that simple. If Tampa Bay wins, they still have to wait until Sunday to see the result of the Atlanta Falcons and New Orleans Saints game, because if Atlanta wins that game and Tampa wins, then you get a 3-way tie between those two and with Carolina. And Carolina would actually win the 3-way tie at 8-9 between those 3 teams. So the Bucs, if they win, still need to root for Tyler Shuck and the pretty hot Saints right now. The New Orleans Saints are playing well, but they have to go and get a road win in Atlanta. So you're going to get this kind of quasi-division deciding game here between the Saints and the Falcons if Tampa Bay wins. If Carolina wins, then it's a moot point. They win the division outright. But you've got 2 teams that have really struggled, at certain times this year, certainly Tampa Bay recently, and then it might get dragged on to even beyond Saturday's game between the 2.
Are either team scary? Okay, it's Bucs or Panthers, whoever ends up winning this division. They make it to the playoffs. Are either of them worth paying attention to, or are they going to be immediately eliminated in the NFC playoffs?
As far as a deep run, say a Super Bowl type run, no, not at all. They're not going to win multiple playoff games. Any team in a one-game scenario, especially in their building, is scary, especially to me, Carolina. We have seen them beat the likes of the Green Bay Packers and the LA Rams. And look, most of that game against Seattle last week was close, but Bryce Young really struggled in the second half. We've seen Carolina. And look, we've seen Tampa Bay. We know how many weapons they have. We know the capability and the pedigree that they have when they're playing well. It's just that Baker Mayfield hasn't played well in 2 months. Maybe they can turn it back on for one game after a win in their home building. So you never want to take a team for granted. I do think either one of them is at least capable of winning one game in the postseason, but they wouldn't get beyond that.
And Dalton, the other Saturday game, fascinating stuff. You'd like, if you have one of those top records in the league, to be kicking it back, sitting on the Barca Lounger, resting your starters. But the number 1 overall seed is at play here. San Francisco against Seattle, a titanic matchup, one we could see again perhaps down the road. But the fact of the matter is, winner gets the bye, and that is big. You'll get that week off, but you got to wait a week for it, and you got to earn it. Let's talk about this game.
No, it really, this game sets the course for the entire NFC playoffs, right? Between which team gets a bye week and then where you have to go and play. If you have to play that number 1 seed, is it going to be in the 12th man up there in Seattle? That's one of the hardest road environments to go into. Or is it going to be San Francisco and they wouldn't have to leave their building even all the way through the Super Bowl if they get there, and they've got the hottest offense in football. You don't want to play them right now the way that Brock Purdy's playing. So, it's a massive game. I don't think it can be overstated how, even though these 2 teams are both well locked into playoff spots, how big this game is setting the course. It's the difference between obviously hosting all of your games and making everybody else go on a West Coast trip, or having to play potentially all 3 games, playoff games on the road, and an extra one on top of that, as opposed to the winner only having to play 2. This is going to decide maybe the entire fate of the entire NFC, this game right here.
And we're talking about 2 flawed teams here, Dalton, at least in my opinion. I'd love your opinion on this. I think that the San Francisco 49ers are incredibly flawed because their defense is a sieve. They cannot stop anything. And then on the other side, I just don't trust Sam Darnold. Even in the win last week, this guy was turning the ball over like there was no tomorrow. I don't trust him in a big moment. He keeps proving time and time again that is the way to bet. Don't bet on this guy when everything's on the line. They've managed to get some wins despite him, but I think it's been despite him, not because of him. Let's talk about the 2 flaws in these 2 teams, and which flaw would you rather have?
Right now, I'd probably rather have the 49ers flaw, and it's not a good one because their pass rush is basically non-existent. They are dead last in the league in sacks. So I think that's a problem when you talk about all of the good quarterbacks they're going to have to play against in the NFC. When you can't get pressure, there's a good chance they're going to find themselves in high-scoring games, but their offense is raging hot, and as we saw on Sunday night against Chicago, they can keep up and win those games, right? When you talk about Seattle, the big problem down the stretch of the season has been opposing defenses, they're sitting back. Sam Darnold was so good throwing the deep ball, especially to Jackson Smith and Jigba early in the year. They're sitting back. They're making Sam Darnold manufacture underneath 4, 5, 6 yards at a time, and it just hasn't been as crisp. The execution hasn't been all that great underneath. Seattle has got to find a way to run the football to take pressure off of Darnold. If they can get Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet going any given week and balance the offense out, they can still be really good, possibly make a Super Bowl. But if there's that home run dependent in their offense, eventually you strike out too much. Manchild, it's like the Yankees making the playoffs every year, and all they do is hit home runs, but they get in the playoffs and they strike out too much to win the World Series. So that's kind of where Seattle's offense is at right now.
All right, let me do a quick follow-up on my boy Sammy, which is a special place in both of our hearts, Dalton Wasserman, even with him out in Seattle. This is his second straight opportunity to do this, and I believe I saw he made NFL history last year. Best record in football, chance for a number 1 seed. He blew it, was unable to do it. They're a wild card road team instead of potentially being the number 1 seed in the playoffs. They're immediately eliminated. We never hear from them again. Now Sam Darnold has a new opportunity on a different team where he can get revenge. I'll just ask you bluntly. Does Sam Darnold get his revenge? Does this time he win the number 1 seed? And then the playoffs run through Seattle, the 12th man. We know how intense that can be. Does he exact his revenge, or is Sam Darnold destined for the same fate he had last year?
Oh, not to ruin it, because we've got the PFF NFL show coming up in an hour or two with all of our game previews, but I'm taking San Francisco. I think their offense is raging hot, and their defense, it's not great. I know last week Caleb Williams just tore them apart, but there's a lot of weeks where they do a really nice job of preventing those explosive plays. And again, I think Seattle's got to find a way to run the ball and control the pace right now, because San Francisco, their offense is as two-dimensional as it gets. You've got Christian McCaffrey on the ground, and you've got the hottest quarterback in football right now, and Brock Purdy just shredding teams through the air, no matter who the weapons are out there. So I think whichever team runs the ball, and that's more likely San Francisco, is going to win this game. And look, it's just hard not to trust Kyle Shanahan and everything he's got going with this healthy team right now.
Dalton, let me take it even beyond this week, because the team that I think a lot of people for weeks and weeks and weeks have been thinking can come out of the NFC, because they are, dare I say, less flawed than either of these two teams that is vying for the number 1 overall seed, and that's the LA Rams. But now with that loss, the Rams road is just that much more difficult. They won't have any home games seemingly. They're showing a few cracks here and there, although I think once Devontae Adams is back in the fold, that makes them a different team. He's very, very effective, as we know, in the red zone. Give me your take on the Rams, and is it still possible, considering where they're likely to be seated here, that they could still come out of the NFC?
It's absolutely possible, but the road is tough, okay? And I'm curious to see what happens with the Rams even this weekend, because if San Francisco does win that game, the Rams are locked into the 6th seed. Now, if San Francisco loses and the Rams win, they can move up to the 5, but there's a chance if you're in that 6th seed that your road to the postseason is at Philadelphia, at Seattle, and then at, let's say, either Chicago or San Francisco. That's a murderer's row right there. If you get through that, you're on a legendary run to the Super Bowl, and then you have to finish the job from there against somebody from the AFC who's going to make it out. But that would concern me more so than the Rams team themselves. It would be the path to getting there. The one thing that does concern me, and I know Matthew Stafford's been in the spotlight, the MVP race, he wasn't great against Atlanta. Their defense has actually shown some cracks over the last month or so. Their last 5 games, a lot of their numbers in coverage especially are in about the bottom 7 or 8 in the league. They need to figure out what's going on in this secondary, because the pass rush, the defensive line is great, but the back 7 has shown some cracks down the stretch here. And again, you're playing a lot of good offenses and a lot of good quarterbacks in these NFC playoffs. You do not want to have cracks in the secondary going into this postseason.
One of the fascinating things I read recently about the Rams, and it does make the possibility of this task perhaps a little bit more reasonable, they have played more of the playoff teams this year than anyone in football. I think they were tied for the most with 10 matchups against playoff teams in their 17-game schedule. So give me your thoughts about being battle ready. We've seen this in college basketball for years with Michigan State and Tom Izzo, and how we take on that early season difficult schedule to get his team ready for the NCAA tournament, despite the fact that he wouldn't have a great record, because you're going to lose some of those games. The Rams have taken the same path, probably just by circumstance more than anything, because you don't get to select your schedule in the NFL. But give me your thoughts about being battle ready, and are the Rams more battle ready than some of these other teams that we talked about?
Look, I think it speaks to, number one, the veteran leadership, right? When you talk about Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams and guys who have been there before, right? It keeps you steady through those moments. And then what I think it gives Sean McVay, and I like what he's talked about, in his press conferences after a lot of these losses of like, listen, we don't lose, we learn. These are learning experiences. We're going to make the postseason. Maybe we win the division, maybe we don't. But even this week, he said his mentality for week 18, we have to play better football. He, at least outwardly, he said after the Atlanta game, I don't care what happens in that Seattle game. We have to play better than this if we're going to make the postseason. So as much as any team in football, they do a great job of learning from the things they've done wrong, from the errors in those losses, right? From, the times that they have slipped up against Carolina, against Atlanta, against Seattle. What can they learn from those losses? And now they just have to apply it to the postseason because they know as well as anybody, they just won a Super Bowl 4 years ago. It's a one game at a time scenario. And all you got to do is learn from your mistakes and play your best football at the right time.
Talking with Dalton Wasserman, PFF. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital is our handle on YouTube. We'd love for you to become a subscriber. Pop that subscribe button while you've got a second. You see the link right there, youtube.com/@MC Show Digital. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet, where you can save 30 to 70% or 35 to 70 if you're a first responder or a teacher. So go do it today. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends from Box Drop.
Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com.
All right, we are back talking all things football with PFF insider Dalton Wasserman wearing his nice, sparkling, royal blue new PFF cap there. I like that one a lot, Dalton. Might have to get one of those for next Christmas, perhaps. Christmas is over. I guess I can't get myself any more gifts. We're talking about this weekend in the NFL. It's week 18, and maybe for some teams unimportant, maybe for others important. One more massive game we have to talk about it, and it won't come till Sunday night. It'll be in Pittsburgh, the Steel City, and it'll be the Ravens and the Steelers, and it's for all the marbles. It's what we wanted in that division. Another very interesting division, Dalton. Let's talk about that one.
Look, I think the biggest question here is, do the Steelers have anything left in the tank, right? We saw how their offense looked the last week in Cleveland, and obviously a great defense they have down there in Cleveland. Going into that building is not an easy task trying to put up points, but only 6 points in a game where you could have clinched your division. Obviously concerning, right? No DK Metcalf. They're not going to have Darnell Washington in this game after he broke his arm, so that's another weapon down for them, right? They may not have Calvin Austin out there at wide receiver again. This is the big problem right now with the Steelers is when you look at their offense, where do the points come from without Metcalf? And if the Ravens decide, just like the Browns, to just line up man-to-man on the outside, what is the Steelers' answer? Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Scotty Miller, Adam Thielen, who's been on the team for, a month? I mean, that's their top three receivers right now. And when you look at, for as much as Aaron Rodgers might like those guys, it's not a very dynamic crew out there on the outside. So the Steelers, look, I think whoever wins this game, and, there's going to be a question about whether Lamar Jackson or Tyler Huntley's going to play. Whoever wins this game is a team that runs the football well, right? You've got Derrick Henry on one side. Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell have been really good for the Steelers this year, both as runners and receivers. That's what's going to decide this game. But the Steelers, man, I don't know where the passing production comes from. And I know Aaron Rodgers is trying to hang on to every last shred of arm talent he has in there, but there's only so much he can overcome.
And Dalton, would the loser of this game's coach be on the hot seat come Black Monday? If indeed, one of these teams is going to lose. So is one of these coaches potentially on the hot seat?
This is a hard one. I really don't think, I know we've had reports of friction lately. I don't think John Harbaugh is, I think there's too much of a recent track record of all the Ravens' success. And maybe there needs to be a conversation about their offense and what they want it to look like and how to keep Lamar healthy. But I don't think Harbaugh's on the hot seat. Tomlin's an interesting one because you've got, 9 years now since they've won a playoff game and they just haven't had any postseason success. And look, to be honest with you, does this not look like the same team the Steelers had last year with Russell Wilson? It's the same thing, right? So, I mean, when DK Metcalf's out there, they got the go balls and the defense is pretty good, but not the best in the league. That feels more to me like a team that's spinning its wheels, and I could see that as more of a possibility, but that would also take a complete organizational just shift, right? When you talk about, okay, now we're going to tear it down. Now we're going to rebuild. And even if they lose and they're at 8-9 or 9-8, whatever it is, they're not getting a prime draft pick to get one of these quarterbacks. Who's going to be their quarterback next year? Kyler Murray, Tua, Malik Willis. I mean, it's hard to tell right now where the Steelers are going as an organization, but I think Tomlin would be in more danger than Harbaugh.
And let me sprinkle in one more on this. There's been some questions about the future of one Lamar Jackson. And again, this is the surprise factor of every NFL season where a quarterback maybe becomes available we didn't expect. He's a multi-time MVP. There was a scathing story in the Baltimore Sun about video games, this, that, the other. Oh, boy, here we go. So could Lamar Jackson be moved? Not just the Harbaugh angle. What about the Lamar Jackson angle of it? Could he be a quarterback that's suddenly available on the market?
It would be incredibly shocking because you would think if they were going to trade him, somebody would have ponied up the 2 first-round picks a couple of years ago, right? And I'm sure a couple of teams regret not doing that, considering Lamar's talent and cost. Look, 2 first-round picks for Lamar would be such a great. Now, them, and I know there were rumors that maybe he wants to play back in area where a team basically mortgages their future to go get Lamar Jackson, even for as talented as he, and more so, it's hard to envision the Ravens. Once you trade Lamar Jackson, you reset your whole franchise. You reset everything about your franchise, and you're starting over with a new, maybe 4 or 5 year plan, and you still have to find a new quarterback.
Talking with Dalton Wasserman, our PFF insider, all things NFL. Big weekend. Hey, another big game, Dalton, and we got to talk about it. Come on. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Las Vegas Raiders, perhaps the number 1 pick, or really the number 1 pick is on the line. This is a beleaguered Chiefs team. You wonder what the level of effort will be there and what kind of players they're going to roll out in this finale. And then, of course, you've got the Raiders, who have been on the tank, baby, and went down to my Giants last week to put themselves in position with a loss to have the number 1 overall pick. How important is it to the Raiders? Do you even see this game being competitive?
I mean, it will be competitive because you're talking about a scenario where we might see, Chris Oladokun versus Kenny Pickett. So that'll make it, I guess competitive is the word for it. That's the nice word we'll use for it here. It's probably going to be low scoring. And I think there's some scenarios still where even if the Raiders were to win, that they would get the number 1 pick anyway. There's some strength. You see that right column, that strength of schedule there. That's still very fluid when it comes to the scenarios of who gets the number 1 pick. But I don't know. I suppose it's important if they're going to have their pick between, say, a Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore. Then it's a matter of if the Giants are picking first, are they trading down? Who are they trading down to? How much is that going to cost? And, a lot of it goes into the evaluation. If the Raiders would be satisfied with either of those 2 guys, then it's really not that important at all. But it's always good especially when you're a team that needs a quarterback to control your own fate. I'm more curious to see if this is Pete Carroll's last game as their head coach, honestly, first and foremost, and see if we get an entire shift in the coaching staff there as well. So, I expect the Raiders to be picking a quarterback. They're guaranteed to be picking in the top 2, so they're going to get one. It's just a matter of if they heavily prefer one over the other.
Fair enough. Some difficult things to be decided here when it comes to the top of this draft and whether or not it's worth it for the draft capital, dare I say, to do the TANK. Hey, what's with the little guy there? What's with little Paulie doing on your lap there, Paul? What's happening?
Yeah. See, there you go. He heard the draft talk and he went, "What? Was those draft chimes over here?" So yes, he's all ready for the draft chimes.
Oh my goodness. And a couple other races are still being toyed around with here. Does that Jacksonville, Tennessee game mean anything, Dalton? Are you putting any stock in that game being anything of any meaning?
The Titans have been playing better lately, so you can't take them as a non-threat, especially with them adding some balance to their offense. But Jacksonville's really rolling right now. They didn't even play their best game last week, and they still found a way to beat the Colts in Indianapolis. I expect the Jaguars to take care of business. The defense looks great, and Trevor Lawrence, you could argue, he's playing the best football of his career right now. I think the Titans could make it competitive. They're really good at stopping the run, and Cam Ward has been better lately, but I think Jacksonville takes care of business. They get probably that number 3 seed. I think Denver and New England are also going to win to stay ahead of them.
Yeah, that Denver Chargers game. I mean, look at it on our sheet. 12.5 points. The Chargers, 12.5 point underdogs. What's that all about?
Well, the Chargers are benching Justin Herbert.
There it is.
No Herbert. The books don't have the faith in Trey Lance there, especially behind that offensive line. So I mean, and if you're benching Herbert, there's probably several other guys who have yet to be announced that aren't going to play. That's always a factor in those spreads and all that. So,
but Dalton, isn't that sacrilege? So to their own, if the Broncos win, they get the number 1 seed in the AFC, and the playoffs run through Mile High over there. That their own division rival would bend the knee and basically say, "Take it." Like you still have to Trey Lance. I'm sure is playing for his life out there, so he wants to win. But if desire to win was the reason why, hopefully my Jets would have already been in this thing. But that's not the main ingredient that factors results, wins, and losses. But isn't that sacrilege that your own division rival wouldn't step up for what it could mean to potentially block them from getting the number 1 seed? That could change everything.
Not when you have the team leading the league in sacks against the team with maybe the worst offensive line in football, and Justin Herbert already playing with a broken hand. I think Jim Harbaugh he values protecting Justin Herbert at all costs. And look, this year he's been the 3rd most pressured quarterback in the league, I think behind Shedeur Sanders and maybe Tyrod Taylor. I can't remember the other one. But, I mean, at this point, no matter what the seed is, if the division title was on the line, absolutely, they would be full tilt. But and it seems they don't care about getting the 5 or 6 or 7 seed any which way. The AFC, and I think that's an interesting thing about the AFC this year, is it feels like everything is so even and any of these teams can beat anybody else that the Chargers really don't care what seed they are. They just want to be healthy and playing their best football and their healthiest football going into the playoffs. So there's a very good chance that they could end this week as the 7 seed and possibly having to go to New England. And he's perfectly comfortable with that as long as Justin Herbert's healthy.
All right, fair enough. Well, Dalton, it's going to be a lot of fun. We got 3 massively meaningful games to get that weird little Atlanta Falcons twist on top of that whole thing. It's going to be a fun weekend, even though it's the final weekend of the regular season in the NFL. Dalton Wasserman, as always, appreciate you joining us from PFF.
Appreciate you guys, as always. Happy New Year.
Right,
and Dalton, real quick, I just want to say that I just hope that happens. Tampa Bay wins, so like, yeah, baby.
Oh, I do too.
And then the Falcons beat the Saints, and then the Panthers like, thank you very much. We're going to the playoffs. Like the drama, the cameras on both. Oh my goodness! Please,
It'll be the most meaningful, meaningless game you've ever seen in your life. I'm with you. I want to see it happen too. I'm telling you. I mean, both teams, obviously the Panthers and Bucs have had weird seasons, but for it to come down to that feels like just the best scenario for the viewer that we could get is Falcons Saints with the division title on the line. For neither of them, it would just be outstanding. It really would.
All right. Well, Happy New Year, buddy.
Thank you. Happy New Year, Dalton. Don't get punched in the eye, okay? Please.
We'll try.
Be careful out there, all right? Don't go into crowds on the New Year's like I did. Dope that I am. My goodness, what a disaster that was, Paul. I told that story many, many years ago. You're like, what happened?
That was like the most crazy, and I had a million follow-up questions like, what? And to be honest, I've never been in New York for the ball drop thing anyway, so it's probably hard to wrap my mind around the amount of people we're talking about here, but it's still crazy.
It's a tremendous amount of people. It's crazy. It's a crazy event. I don't know. Like I said, I went once. It was obviously an awful experience for me. But I still don't know that I'd go again. I mean, I am amazed
because of that.
I mean, they'll be out there in the freezing cold tonight. I mean, it's not going to be snowy, I don't think, in New York City. But it is going to be cold, very, very cold. And you got to get there, at a ridiculous 12 hours earlier kind of situation to even get anywhere near the ball. I mean, so you gotta, you're standing there forever,
So that's even more intense than the Notre Dame story I told, where that grandma sort of parked and you can't sit, you're just standing. You have to wait for the Notre Dame walkthrough, and she waited for hours, but I don't think it was 12 hours, but she was dedicated.
I don't know if you can slip in one of those like master seats, those little pop-up seats.
Yes.
Got a handle on it, and then you just pop it and just sitting on a little block,
Yeah.
Maybe you could get one of those in there, although I don't know with security and everything these days. You know, when I went, I was very young, so I didn't care about standing. Now I would, for sure, if I went in. Standing that long would kill my back. So I would want to bring something like that. But with security and everything that's gone on, especially, you know, post 9/11 and New York
Would
City,
they allow something like
I
that?
don't
Maybe
even
not.
know if they'd
No.
allow something like that in there. You know, you could hit somebody with something. I mean, it's a weapon of some sort, you know, even though it's not meant to be a weapon. It's a chair.
Right.
Block somebody with a chair. I mean, I got hit with a fist. Didn't even need a chair to hit me.
I guess these are the weapons. Pow, pow.
Yeah. So, you know, but whatever the case is, I mean, to me, it's, you know, it's a long day. It's a long wait. And then you get that moment of glory, but then it's over. Like, I don't know. Like,
Well, that's MFC. Mother effing Chew. Appreciate you, MFC. Sounds like a great idea. Standing around in the freezing cold, loaded down in your own bodily functions. Count me in.
Yeah, let me tell you, one of the things about that too, MFC, is you're going to have to go at some point.
Right,
And,
I imagine. Right.
You know, they do have porta potties. Again, I'm going back to the time when I was there. I'm going to assume it's the same now.
Sure, right.
But, you know, you got to get to them. And, you know, you're packed in like sheep. The closer and closer it gets to midnight, the tighter and tighter it gets. So really, when it gets to around 10:30 at night, you don't want to leave.
Because you'll lose your spot.
You might not get back to where your buddies are. I was with a group of about 10 people. You might not get back to your people. I mean, you literally got to, you got to be rude and like shove your way through people. Excuse me, let me through. You know, you got to be like that kind of very, very aggressive if you're going to get back through that crowd, you know, to get back to the spot that you feel like you waited for. You know, you leave, you know, it's like, you know, snooze, you lose, you know, you get up out of your chair. You know, anybody ever go to a Super Bowl party that was packed and you got this great spot, you're like right in front of the big screen TV, you're loving every moment of it, you got your chips, you got your pizza, you're like, I got to go up and get another drink, right? You get up out of your seat, you go and someone plops themselves right in your chair and you're like, no, hey, that's my seat, you know?
Well, you get pretty defensive. I bring up that Notre Dame thing. When people were waiting there for so long, when people were trying to sneak through, they're like, whoa, buddy, I've been waiting here for 3 hours. Get freaking back.
Right.
So, yeah, people get very defensive.
People get very defensive, right? They're not going to give up their spot now, you know, leaving and coming back to a spot that you had rightfully had. You know, there's an argument to be made there, but yikes, you know.
And that's also true with the porta potty situation. Millions of people using those porta potties. I bet that smells delicious. So yeah, that's a good point too. Those are probably a lot of tread on those tires. That's probably
New York in general smells delicious. So you just kind of get used to it after
I guess that's true. There you go.
Yeah. So if you ever want to do it, you know, I would say it might be worth a one time in your life kind of thing, and then good and done. But I know people that go every year. It's crazy.
Well, Lurch, I don't know where you wanted to go next, but I did want to take a moment to say, you know, the results are in, and, you know, this hurts me. It's devastating. I needed time to recover. I'm still not recovered, but the better man won. You won the championship. You won it on officially Monday night, I suppose, with all the opponents going on. So, hey, man, you're a 3-time champ. I'm not. You won. You're the best. You've never lost in a championship game, so you're the best around.
You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down.
Listen, our fantasy league is no easy task to win. That is for sure. But there is something really, really cool. When we won the first 2 years, we documented this when we were on our live show earlier in the week. We won the first 2 years. I won the very first year. You won the second year. And I was saying coming out of that second year, like, wow, that's really remarkable. I mean, you know, we're competing against 11 other people, including each other. You know, for us to come out 1-1 in the first 2 weeks, first 2 years of the league, I thought like, this is incredible. A statement. You know, we're making a statement. And then a few years go by and some other people win and we don't win. And then, you know, year 5 comes and I win again. And now I'm like, and everyone's saying like, hey, you're a 2-time champion. I'm like, yeah, hey, I got 2 rings, right? Like put them on these 2 fingers here. I got 2 rings now, you know? And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know? And then, you know, you hadn't won another one yet. And it was this whole idea of, you know, I one up to you. I've got one more than you kind of thing, you know? And I was like, ooh, this is kind of cool to have this over Paul. And then just a couple of years ago, you won your second. And I was like, oh no, I don't have it over him anymore. Now we're both 2-time champions. And now I have to worry about, is he going to become the first 3-time champion, right? So definitely as this playoffs went on and you and I were seemingly moving in a direction to a showdown, one that I was not really looking forward to with the way and the shape that my team was in, you know, heading down the stretch of the season, particularly in the playoffs with all of the injuries and guys just, you know, just dropping off the planet. I was like, oh my God, this is the worst. I mean, he's going to get the 3-time thing before me, man. He's going to have this over me. So definitely from that perspective, it's really sweet to get that third one first, because I was the first to get one. I was the first to get 2, and now I'm the first to get 3. And one of the other cool things too, and I mean, I think this is just dumb luck. I'm not going to claim it as skill at all, but I've been to the championship game now 3 times. I'm 3-0. That's fantastic to like get there and win it every time. We talked about this again in terms of the numbers. This was your 5th trip to the championship in the 9 years we've had the league, which is perhaps even more remarkable. But you have a little Buffalo Bills in you. Not quite as bad, but you have a little Buffalo
Thankfully,
Bills.
I've won twice, right?
3 in championship games. So you now have a losing record in championship games.
I do.
I'm 3-0. So I'm kind of relishing some of that stuff at the moment and kind of taking it all in. We will have our official ceremony, if you want to call it, or whatever.
Sure.
Because Paul does now reach out to our trophy people, and he gets one of those little placards that goes on the side of the trophy, and then we will have a little ceremony where that little placard gets stuck on the side permanently, and it'll say my name one more time for the 3rd time. And I have this weird streak going, which we mentioned, of winning every 4 years. I'm like the San Francisco Giants, or there's a bunch of teams out there in the history of sports that have like they win every odd year, or every even year.
Even year, yeah. For the Giants was every even, yeah.
You know, there's some cool streaks out there that I think are pretty much random, but this is a weird random thing that I won the first year, 4 years later, and now 4 years later again. So I'll be dead for the next 3 years again.
Yeah, apparently that's great news. Yeah, for terrific. You're right.
But
no, here it is.
Fun season. Go ahead.
Yeah, here it is. No, for people that are watching, this is the fantasy championship between me and Lurch. I've always said this, and I maintain it, that even though it was close enough, obviously I went to Monday Night Football, but I'd rather get my teeth kicked down my throat than lose close. And I had 2 decisions I could have made. One was really up in the air. The other was not. So I'm not going to really fret over the other one, which was Zach Charbonnet had the best game of his career and scored 27 points. But to be honest, I didn't think about starting him at all. Pollard had a hot streak recently. So if he didn't, maybe I would have considered just playing both Seattle running backs, which would have been crazy, but maybe. So I have lost 0 sleep over Zach Charbonnet. He had a great game, tip of the cap to the world, the universe. I would have never played him. So it is what it is. This isn't best ball where your best points automatically rise to the top. I like that you have to make decisions on a week-to-week basis. Right. The only one that I really wrestled over, to me, was leading up to Christmas, was Justin Jefferson or Stephon Diggs. I kept going back and forth. And the difference between Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs' final tally is 15 points. You had 15 points my total, I still lose by 20 plus. So you know what? I can sleep easy at night now, knowing, I mean, I would have rather won the championship, obviously, but I could sleep a lot easier at night knowing that if I would have made that decision, I would have won or would have lost. I know I would have still lost. So that makes me feel better. I'm like, thank God, there's literally nothing I could have done that I would have done. So, hey, that helps me a little bit easier. So there you go. But yes, for all of our champions, everyone that did win in one of our 4 leagues for the radio show, radio digital show, you guys will be getting your championship placards. Those are going through the whole shipping process. Hopefully weather doesn't delay any of that, but it could. So we'll see when those come in. But yes, we'll do some digital version of crowning these champions.
Placing them on the
on all these trophies.
One by one, crowning each one. Pretty cool. We've got 4 trophies for 4 leagues. And it's fun to get your name permanently on the side of one of those trophies.
Pretty cool.
Be there for eternity. It's just like the Stanley Cup, man. You get your name etched in there for eternity. So very, very cool stuff to see that. But no, it was a great season. It was a lot of fun. I loved I needed every ounce of what Luther Burden obviously gave me on Sunday night. And Caleb Williams coming back and having a good performance in that game too. And that thing just being this insane shootout, the biggest shootout of the entire weekend with over 75 points scored. But it was, like I said, I loved going into Monday night with the guy who I picked in the first round of the draft. Like I'm going to win with Bijan Robinson. I'm going to lose with Bijan Robinson. I believed in him all year. I believed in him when I drafted him. I was thrilled that I got him at number 3, that other people decided on other people. Jahmyr Gibbs was picked in front of him in our draft. So I'm just grateful that I had the chance to get him. And he was an outstanding performer when you needed it most. I mean, he had his best week of the entire season, in a Monday night game where absolutely there were tons of people who needed him. I'll have to find out how Joe Bartle did in his
his money leagues.
But him and I were texting back and forth on Monday night. Okay. And he had said to me, I don't think he had Jacobs, and Jacobs obviously was a massive
Right,
flop.
but it
He
was best ball, so
right.
he didn't, yeah.
Correct. So he had other players, to play with, but Jacobs really hurt him. And
Sure.
he was saying to me, at one point he texted me and said, I just made another $3,000. And then he said, if Puka doesn't get to 20 points and Bijan continues, and this was already when Bijan was already probably at 25, between 25 and 30 points, I'll continue to climb, and each of those little clicks up this ladder,
get more money, right?
Is another 1,000, 2,000, whatever the heck you're going to get it. So I don't know if he ever got to. Remember, he had told us there were a bunch of $50,000 prizes. Obviously, I think the top spot and the second spot were huge money.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he made it all the way up into one of those 50,000 slots, because he said there were a lot of other people in the league, obviously, who selected Bijan. So that's a tricky thing. Bijan's going up, but he's going up for everybody. Therefore, you're not gaining on anyone. But a lot of people had Puka, and Puka didn't get to 20 points. So that probably jumped Joe up a little bit. So we'll have to get the final tally from him. But
yeah,
he was definitely a happy camper when he was texting back and forth with me on Monday night.
Well, from just what I know of how much he had made automatically with what he had already done to what you've just added, he probably walked away. I haven't texted him since, but he probably walked away with at least $20,000.
That's what I'm thinking, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20.
I mean, phenomenal.
$20. Come on, man. I mean, I think I'm going to get in these best ball things.
Yeah,
next
apparently.
year. Just knowing what
cool.
you can do, knowing, what the possibilities are. And then what a fun night to be sitting, on the final weekend of, fantasy football anyway, and be rooting for a few players to cash you in potentially for nearly $1 million. I mean, like, holy crow, that's
good for him.
Just crazy stuff. So
hey, he does this for a living. So if anyone deserves it in the universe, it is definitely Joe Bartle. So hey, major props to him. He puts a lot of work into this. It's definitely not easy. Obviously, only very few people had the chance to win that kind of money. So good for him. I do see we have a super chat out there in the audience. So thank you so much, Troy. Happy New Year. Same to you. And a couple of things here. First off, Troy, you got a raffle ticket to our contest. But speaking of all these raffle tickets and contests and things of that nature, Lurch, we've continued to surge on our subscribers. So I want to make sure I have an accurate number here as I'm refreshing the page here. But I want to give a big shout out to a great new year to all our Jet fans, or not Jet fans. Well, I mean, some of you are Jet fans out in the audience, but we have 439 subscribers. So, folks, that means there's only, and I'll blow myself up here, for our next giveaway. We're 11 away, folks. If you're one of the next 11 people to subscribe to our channel, so let me throw that up on the screen as well. If you're one of the next 11 people to subscribe right here, you may be watching the show in a lot of different places, my YouTube channel, my Twitter account, but hop on over to this YouTube link right here. That's youtube.com/@MC Show Digital. If you're one of the next 11 people, so spots are running out, you'll be in the running for this 1972 official New York Jets yearbook cover. It's got a couple of Pro Football Hall of Famers on it. That's Joe Namath. That's John Riggins when they're both playing for the Jets in 1972. You see that? It used to be $1, worth much more now. It's in pristine condition, so that you can see the plastic covering. If you're one of the next 11 people, you have a chance to win this. We'll randomly draw one of the 450 subscribers. If you're already subscribed, you don't have to do anything, and you'll have a chance to win this puppy, and I'll ship it to you for the holidays. We'll get in contact so I can ship it to you and send it your way. So, folks, we want to continue to thank all our loyal subscribers that have been growing this army since over the summer, which we're very blessed and humbled by. And we're going to keep doing milestones. So stay subscribed. Only one person will win this. So 449 people, I guess, will be disappointed they didn't win this. But keep staying subscribed, because every other free giveaway you're a part of. If you unsubscribe, you're out of the running. So you have to remain a subscriber. So keep that in mind. Hopefully you want to subscribe, because we're giving you guys some awesome content to chew on. But also, it doesn't hurt to win free stuff. So take full advantage, folks.
And not only go win that thing, but then once you get that in your possession as a winner, now go find Joe Namath. He's accessible. He's around.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Get him to autograph it. And by the way, John Riggins is still around too. Go find Riggo, wherever the heck he's up to. Track him down. I mean, the internet's a wonderful thing. All right. And get him to sign. And if you had those two signatures on that program, that's a nice collector's piece. That's not only is it something that you'd want to put permanently, if you're a Jets fan, on your old, mantle. But the other thing is, or in your trophy case, the other thing is that, it has value. And
of course,
that can be passed down to your, to your kids and your grandkids and so on and so forth. And that can turn into a really, really valuable piece down the road. So think about those kinds of things. I mean, I got that football, as you know, years ago from the Super Bowl, Giants, Patriots, the undefeated Patriots, Giants take them out. David Tyree has that amazing moment. And when I had that football in my hand, I said to you all those years ago, I'm holding on to this football, and I'm going to get those two guys on this football. Okay. Now, look, David Tyree is obviously very much alive. Eli Manning is very much alive.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That football, and it does have both their autographs on it right now. I was able to get them. You were able to get them for me. Okay, that ball has some value, but years from now, when I pass that ball to my son and he potentially passes his son, that thing is going to hold as one of the greatest plays ever in the history of the Super Bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
And that ball is just going to increase in value over the years, and become even more of a collector's item than it even is now, and how valuable it is to someone like me who's a nutty Giant fan. All right. So, that's what you do. You spend the time, you track some people down, you get those autographs on these specialty items, and then you just hold on to them. All right. And then they become incredibly valuable.
So Lurch, you already have it written in your will that it's going to your son, Zay, that football?
I don't have it written in my will yet, but it will. It's going to my son.
I think you should call an audible at the line of scrimmage here,
Yeah,
Rich,
probably should.
because here's what I would do. Okay. If I was you, that's going in the grave with me. I'm 3 point. They call it in football the 3 points of pressure. Your tip of your middle finger on the tip of the ball, tucked into the arm and the bicep, and then rip up. That is going with me to the grave. Some of these Jets memorabilia items, they're going with me 6 feet under. Yeah. So if someone wants it, better make sure you put a chain lock on my coffin, and you're going to have to strip it from my dead cold fingers, buddy. Because just go to your son. That's nice, I guess, but that's going in the grave with me.
No,
you're a better man.
I don't have those kind of morbid thoughts of let my dead body have its hands on this ball. I tend to think a little differently, not to.
You want it to be appreciated. Okay.
No, not only that, but I mean, not to criticize your belief system versus my belief system, but I believe there's a better place. I believe that while I will no longer be there in body, I will be somewhere else in spirit and in and in soul, as we call it, our soul. So that ball ain't come with me as some kind of a spiritual body here.
I see.
I can't carry that thing into the end zone as a spirit. Maybe I can. Maybe I'll find out I have those.
That'd be cool.
But it's sitting in a 6 feet under in a coffin in an inanimate object, in my opinion's fingers. It's not a future for.
That's all right. Different strokes.
I know, right? Different strokes are different folks. I told you I had a friend who passed young, and one of the things that we did was when he got him an autographed football. Tom Coughlin autographed the Giants football. This guy was a big Giants fan, and it did go in the coffin with him. It's buried with him. God bless him. And it was a nice thought and a cool thing. But now that ball's not.
There you go.
Yeah, that ball's
very nice.
Going with me into the crypt.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Let's do this. I was about to say, speaking of going into the crypt, but actually there's no wonderful segue into what I was going to do. But let's jump to the fans. I see we got a fan.
So lots of comments today. So let's do that.
Yeah. So Jesse says, are we going to claim Diggs? He's referencing the Jets. I'm going to be honest, the Jets or any team, I don't think is going to claim Trevon Diggs. So I wanted to get the latest information on this before we join the show.
And let me just ask you this, because this is a question I'm sure a lot of people have, and I even do to a certain extent. Waivers always confuse me a bit, but if you claim a guy on waivers, then is it additional salary responsibilities? What's the reason not to claim? Because obviously Diggs is a terrific player. So why the heck wouldn't somebody in the NFL claim him? Already the experts, the talking heads out there of the world, the Schefters of the world are saying, that probably he's not going to get claimed. What do you mean he's not going to get claimed? He's a good player, Of course he's going to get claimed. No, he's not, because. Give me the because. What is the because?
Exactly. You inherit the contract if you claim someone off waivers. So normally over the offseason, if you cut a veteran, there's no waivers. They're a veteran. They have a service time in the league. You cut them, they're a free agent. They can immediately sign with whoever they want. Now, sometimes we get into the weeds of like, if a veteran gets cut and he finds a new place, it's sort of like when coaches get fired, that the new acquiring team pays some of the money he would have been owed if he goes nowhere. So there's a little bit of that to it. But no, in this world, in the middle of seasons, when veterans are cut, they're subject to waivers. The waivers are reverse order of the standings, so the worst teams have the best chance at these players. But the reason why is Trevon Diggs is owed $500,000 this week on a game check. So if you claim him, you immediately have to give him a check for $500,000. So The insiders believe that no team is going to want to openly give him that. Let him clear waivers. Then you can sign him to whatever deal you want, which is probably prorated. I was going to say prorated veteran minimum, but I don't want to assume. It could be any amount of money, and maybe you could get creative and sign him to a multi-year deal because it's a great opportunity right now. We'll see. But no, I don't believe it gets claimed by anybody. And then to Dalton's point, maybe he could go to the Packers. Maybe he could go to the Eagles. The Eagles traded for Ravens, excuse me. They traded for Jair Alexander, and then he just sort of walked away from football. So now he's just hanging in the wind. Darius Slay was claimed by the Buffalo Bills, but he didn't want to play for Buffalo, and now they're just holding his rights hostage, so he can't go join someone else. So maybe that would be a creative opportunity. So because of his contract, I don't think he gets claimed. So Trevon Diggs will remain a free agent.
New York, the Big Apple, Times Square, New Year's Eve.
Sure. Yeah, there you go.
We could use another corner.
Okay.
I saw Joey Matesic was in the comments. Joey is the lucky recipient of our Bobby Mercer autographed baseball. We just got a picture back from him yesterday. We'll get it up on social media for you folks. And he won that prize for being one of our first, I think it was 400 subscribers.
Yeah, there you go. There he is right there.
Joey.
We'll have it up on social media.
Post that picture. He just sent it to us. So Joey, congratulations. And I think he said he's going to be giving it to a close friend of his who's a diehard
Yankee friend. Awesome. Do that. By the way, if you got a Jets fan and you win this, you don't have to keep it for yourself. I don't care what you do with it. Hopefully you don't.
Of course, it's going to the grave if it's Boy Green, but if it's give it to a friend.
Sure, give it to a friend. Pay it for. Again, that's what I would do if roles were reversed. Someone else was sitting in this chair, and I was just a fan of the show. I'm like, ooh, I could win the Yankee ball or something. I'd be thinking of Yankee. I'm not a Yankees fan. I'd be thinking of Yankees people in my life. How can I pay it forward? I got the sweet gift from the MC Show digital program, awesome, and I could pass it forward to someone that's really going to appreciate it. And cool, I won something. Got to spread it forward. All the credit on that. So sure, 100%.
And Joey, who's got a badass beard, says the following. The perfect scenario is the Jets fire Glenn, get Harbaugh, maybe with Lamar, or Tomlin, and draft a quarterback at number 1. Oh, I'm loving all these scenarios. And then he followed it up, by the way, by saying, but Woody is too incompetent for that. All right, let's talk about the scenario. I like the scenario better before you trash the owner, who deserves it probably. Go ahead, BG. What do you think of that?
So I had the great pleasure. He's one of my favorites in the universe. I got to do an interview with Rich Cimini of ESPN yesterday. He covers the New York Jets. He's covered them for nearly 4 decades. He's one of the longest tenured beat reporters in America. And I asked him, I phrased it this way. It's on my YouTube channel. On a scale of 1 to 10, Rich, how surprised would you be if Aaron Glenn is fired on Black Monday? 10, you're shell shocked, like unbelievably surprised, or 1, you totally saw it coming. And he told me this story. He said, the most shocking thing I've covered in like the last 20 years is Sauce Gardner being traded from the Jets. We had no idea that was going to happen. Yes. And he said, that's the most shocking thing I've covered in 20 years. And he says, I found that out. I was at the Nick Mangold funeral. I was outside the church, and I get a text that tells me, oh my God, Sauce Gardner was just traded. And he said 5 feet away from him was Darrelle Revis. He said, hey, Darrelle, the Jets just traded Sauce. And Darrelle Revis goes, no, they didn't. And Rich is like, here, look at my phone. Here's the text I just received from a source. It says it happened. So he said, like, that's the most shocked he's been in 20 years. He said, if the Jets fired Aaron Glenn on Monday, I'd be more shocked than that. And basically, emphatically told me he's not going to get fired. So, folks, you can believe what you want. Yeah, you can believe what you want. To me, I trust Rich. He's been covering this team for a very long time. He's well informed. The Jets are not firing Aaron Glenn. And to be honest, I agree with Rich. I don't think it's fair. I would not fire him after 1 year. I don't think it's fair. I get it. I'm not saying he's been great. He hasn't been. But I want him to have a chance to work through his issues. This, to me, has not been an Adam Gase situation.
Right. This isn't gross incompetence, right? I mentioned it when I talk about the Giants and Ray Handley. If you want to talk about Gase and the Jets,
Sure.
Yeah, I just think there are some things where you just see there are some things that really aren't working even beyond the X's and O's, Right. And I don't think this is the case with Glenn. So hopefully he can grow into the job. They're going to have this great opportunity, as I mentioned, to get all these picks and do something with them. So, let's give him a chance. Jimmy Johnson, Chuck Noll.
Right. Yeah. All those guys. Yeah.
All those guys off worse records than this guy. Okay.
Sure.
And they hung around and did a few things. So
yeah, and I would say this, if I'm being completely candid, while I'm the Super Jets fan and I think they're the greatest team in the universe and all these other things, if I'm Harbaugh or Tomlin, that potentially could be let go, the loser of this AFC North championship playoff game on Sunday. If I'm Tomlin or Harbaugh, I'd much rather go to the Giants than go to the Jets. Now, the only thing that makes that a little ugly is Shane being left over. That would probably bother me if I'm a Tomlin or Harbaugh. I'd want my own GM. I wouldn't want some holdover GM. So maybe that can still get figured out here over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it's going to be. But the Giants have their quarterback figured out. They've got some assets. They've got some money. They seem to have a really talented defense, just isn't playing up to snuff. Candidly, if I'm Harbaugh or Tomlin, I'd prefer the Giants. Now, the intriguing thing about the Jets, they have 5 first-round picks, and you can paint your own story, and there's a freshness there. And if you win in New York, you can win anywhere, and the Jets have been a loser forever. So, like, I can see the right person seeing that going, ooh, sexy, I love it, and the money and everything. But to be honest, if I was one of those guys, I'd pick the Giants over the Jets.
Well, MFC says he'd fire his own mother for Harbaugh or Tomlin. So. All right. Well, let's see. I don't think either guy's going to be let loose. One of them's obviously going to lose this game on Sunday night, and that's a bummer. And so that means that team is not making the playoffs. And also, just another quickie, too, on this.
Sure.
All this rumbling about Lamar. So why is there rumbling? He's under contract.
Yes.
Why is this suddenly a thing? Because all of a sudden this just became a thing in the last week. I'm like, what's going on here with, I understand Harbaugh, and it might just be like, hey, the message isn't getting through anymore. He's a great coach. They've acknowledged that. They've been together a long time, but everybody parts ways at some point. I kind of get it. Same thing with Mike Tomlin. But Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
What?
So a local paper in Baltimore, it's called the Baltimore Sun, wrote a scathing article about all kinds of inside stuff about Lamar.
Video games. I saw plays.
Video games, and he's nonchalant, and he misses all these practice time with injuries and this and that, and they haven't gotten over the hump. And there's all this criticism, and the relationship between him and Harbaugh is apparently terrible. Harbaugh said, no, our relationship is great when he was asked about this report. So anywho, that there could be a divisive split between the two from all their drama together, and thus Lamar could be available to be traded for and things of that nature. I just want to make this perfectly clear. I haven't had a chance to do a show on this. We'll have plenty of time during the offseason about whether the Jets should be interested. If I'm the Jets, I am 1,000% interested in Lamar Jackson. He's 28 years old. He's a 2-time MVP. And you tell me about the playoff success, we'll figure that crap out later. Get me the awesome quarterback. We'll figure it out from there. So I've seen a lot of Jet fans respond and go, no way. And I'm like, dude, are you guys throwing rocks from glass houses here? Why in God's green earth would you not want Lamar Jackson? He's such a dynamic player. He's in or entering the prime of his career at 28 years of age. I would 1,000% want Lamar Jackson. And anyone who doesn't, I just don't understand where you're coming from. So that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
MFC on a roll here today. Diggs gets more interceptions than every player on the Jets combined, right? Do they still not have an INT this year?
They don't. They
get one. Okay,
they don't.
Last game. Oh, man.
They don't. So
Has a team ever done that? Has
No.
a team in NFL history ever gone a season without an interception?
They have not.
Wow. So they're going to make history if they don't get one in this upcoming game.
The Jets have broken every other record. Most consecutive games, which could be over consecutive seasons if that were to happen. So that one, the start of a season, we're 16 games, 17 weeks through a season. It hasn't happened, so they own that record. But yes, they'd be the first team in NFL history to go through an entire season without an interception, which again is wild that's possible. And who knows? Again, are the Bills going to play their backups or not? Because the Bills opened as a 9.5-point favorite against the Jets. Now they're only a 7-point favorite. What other reason would there be for the line to shrink unless you think the Bills aren't going to play their starters? So I don't have any official word on that yet, but I guess that would be it. So yes, the Jets don't have it. And yeah, shout out to Trevon Diggs. I think he's a really talented player. I don't know if that's a fit with the Jets do need a corner, but I don't think that's where Trevon would go. He probably wants to go to a contender, jump on a playoff team this year, which again, I don't blame him for. I'll bring up another comment here. It's about taking a page from the Giants playbook. NY Jets fandom says, I know the Jets won't do it, but take BPA with the second or third overall pick. Right now, the Jets have the third overall pick. And then take Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, with the other first-round pick, even though we have to trade up a little, maybe to 12. So basically, that's what the Giants did last year.
BPA, can you get me up with my acronyms here?
Best player available.
Best player available.
So
I thought it was initials for a player.
No.
All this kind of
No.
stuff.
Yeah, I shouldn't assume. I should always explain terminology and things of that nature. So what the Giants did in April, I was going to say last year, but it was still in this calendar year for now. They took Abdul Carter with the 3rd overall pick, perceived the best player available on the board, regardless of position, and he was talented at a position of need. And then they traded back into the back end of the 1st round to go get their quarterback of choice, which is Jack Start. And in theory, it works. Now, I'm a little halfway on Abdul Carter, but he's playing much better now. So hopefully he continues to play. Hopefully he continues to play that way. And obviously Jackson Dart has shown plenty that makes you feel very intrigued at the very least, if not full-throated, that you think he's a franchise quarterback. You go to the Jets version. I just saw a mock draft from The Athletic came out yesterday. So right now, Jets pick at 3. 1, they had the Raiders taking Dante Moore, the quarterback out of Oregon. 2, they had the Browns trading up with the Giants to take the other quarterback, which was Fernando Mendoza. And then in theory, the Jets are left swinging in the wind. There's no quarterback at this moment that is perceived to be good enough to be the 3rd overall pick. So in that mock, he had the Jets taking Arvell Reese. He's an edge rusher and an off-ball linebacker out of Ohio State. So the Jets had the number 1 pick of non-quarterbacks. Anyone that wasn't a quarterback, they could have taken. They had their pick of the litter of any position that wasn't a quarterback. And in theory, makes a lot of sense. The Jets stink. They need all kinds of positions. So to get that, and then to potentially come back to NY Jets fandom's point, get Ty Simpson, that is intriguing on the surface. Now, I'm a little concerned Ty Simpson doesn't have a ton of college starts. But here's what we're going to see tomorrow, Lurch. We have Indiana, Ohio State, or Indiana, Alabama, and Ty Simpson versus Mendoza. Let's see how they both perform. Dante Moore comes in the other game tomorrow, and they play Texas Tech. So I'm fascinated to see the quarterbacks. Again, if you're a Jets fan, you're rooting for excellent quarterback play from all of these things that lead these quarterbacks down to the draft, and you with the top 3 pick would be in position to get one of those guys potentially.
By the way, Oregon underdogs in that game against Texas Tech.
Ooh,
So that'll be fascinating. Really, I'll whip through some comments because we're on a tight clock here today.
Yes.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Ol Yank, for popping in there today. Happy New Year, y'all. It is New Year's Eve tonight. Hep with his usually, hey, fellas. Hey, by the way, Hep, your autographed Slapshot Hanson Brothers picture is on its way to you. So we had a big snowstorm up here, so that could slow down the delivery system a little bit, but it's on its way. Coming in a nice big manila envelope. So that's headed to you. So let us know again when you get it and take a picture or a little quick video with it, and we'd love to post it on our social media. So we'll do that as well. Bad Show back in the room. Hey, morning, fellas. All right, thank you, Bad Show. Good to be checking.
I see this one from Bad Show.
Yeah.
I would push my mother down the stairs for Tyler Harbaugh. What is wrong with you people? It's the holiday
really
season.
Want one of these guys. Wow.
Jesus,
Wow.
That is that's aggressive. I guess anything to turn your football team around, I guess.
Let me see if there's anything else in the comments.
Okay.
If you find
I see Jesse. I'll throw one here. I think even if we're Jesse Owens, thank you on YouTube for commenting in. I think even if we're gifted Fernando Mendoza, you shouldn't start right away. First year injury risk, adjust to the speed of the game. I think bringing back Zach Wilson to compete with Justin Fields is right. No, thank you on that last thing. Wow. That is disgusting. That's definitely not. Justin Fields isn't going to be on this roster either. So no thanks to that. But to your first point, yes, I think the Jets have zigged forever. When I say that is they've drafted a young quarterback and they've immediately thrown him out there into the wind, and then they've struggled. Now, sometimes it works. You draft a quarterback, you apply CJ Stroud, phenomenal immediately, and you're like, sweet, we got a quarterback. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. So for the Jets, we've done it one way forever. I wouldn't mind them saying Mendoza, Moore, Simpson, whoever it is, hey, you're going to ride the bench for a while, and eventually you'll go in. The Saints did that with Tyler Shuck, and it looks very well right now. So that's what I prefer. But all that last stuff, absolutely not.
Bad Show didn't win his other league, Boy Green. He was talking a little about fantasy last week, but he still did get $250 for runner-up. So it's a money league, obviously, and that's going to help out with all the presents he bought. So that's good.
Yes.
See, you were generous. You give, and then what happens? You end up receiving. That's a good point. Give, and then maybe you get back, right?
Well, sorry about that.
That's a Jerry Seinfeld episode about being even Steven all the time, only right. The $20 bill out the window, and then George walks in with the $20 bill, and he finds it in his coat pocket.
Full circle,
He's going on around.
Which congratulations to Batchon again. It's great to have you in our leagues, and hopefully good luck to trading up. I see another Jesse Owen thing in here. Should we trade up in front of Kansas City, get Jeremiah Love? So they take whoever they want, the Jets at 3 or 4, and then with the 18th pick that they currently have in the Colts, you trade up and go get somebody. If the Jets lose Breece Hall, I would love Jeremiah Love. I saw him in person in that Notre Dame-Syracuse game. Good Lord, sorry, Syracuse fans. Jeremiah Love is a freak. He's one of the best pure talents in this entire draft. So if the Jets, who love running the football, say Jeremiah Love, I would love. I would love Jeremiah Love. That would be a phenomenon. Now, whether the Jets, with all of their needs, should take a running back in the first round, you can make an argument, probably not. That'd be irresponsible, but it would be pretty sexy and a lot of fun. So sign me up. Yeah.
Yeah, Love reminds me a little of, and I shouldn't really say this because I don't want to compare and contrast completely different things, but
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette, like at least in terms of
whoa, okay, I didn't think
size
about
and
that.
just kind of the thickness of him. He's just jacked, man. He's a jacked dude, man. He looks like a wrecking ball, man. I wonder if the Giants traded down, would they have any interest in him? If the Giants traded down at 10, 11,
interesting.
12, would they draft an RB again? Would they do this again, this time a little lower, not at number 2?
And you would get assets, right? Because you're picking wherever you are, and to trade back,
Correct.
you get the assets
Correct.
and take the guy. Maybe.
Because I think they need a running back. You're going to roll out Tyrone Tracy and Singletary again next year? It's nothing sassy about that. They got to do something there. I know you can get running back. Look, running backs, you can get them much later in the draft, and it's probably never wise to take a guy really, really early like that, because then you're going to be forced to pay him in year 4, year 5 of the contract, assuming he just does good work. So you only get him on the cheap for a short period of time, versus those middle round guys, which come even at a cheaper situation, and you usually are able to hold on to them a little bit better. So I don't know. It's always tough to take it back in the first round, but Love looks special to me. He looks like a dude. I'm like,
he does.
That guy could be great.
Let's stay in the NFC East. I see Timothy jumping in saying abruptly. It's only abruptly if you haven't been paying attention the last 2 years. She's talking about the headline of our YouTube video, but Trevon Diggs getting abruptly cut. I don't know. 1 week before the season and days after Christmas, days before New Year.
That's pretty
feels abrupt. I'm not sure how else to put it. Now you could question, apparently, as you are, the injuries and what he's been able to give.
This relationship was seemingly coming apart, but to do it at this moment in time is very odd, because this guy is now going to be out there in the ethos, potentially for a playoff team to pick up and insert. And he could be playing in meaningful playoff games, potentially even in the Super Bowl this year. You don't see that in the game of football. So I'd have to agree with you, BG, that I know, sometimes headlines are sensational, but I do think that that it is abrupt in the sense of that it's happening at this moment in time,
out of nowhere,
seeing where everyone else is. So it is kind of weird. But Jerry Jones, man.
Hey, shout out to Badshaw, another super chat coming in. Happy New Year's. There's always next year. That's both for the Jets and for all of us. So hopefully better things are to come.
And Boy Green in fantasy.
Oh, you get every opportunity to get your swings in, because I would have been absolutely insufferable if it was the other way around. If I'm being honest, so full love that way. And Badshaw, by the way, this was added to your raffle ticket totals. We'll be doing our raffle reveal tomorrow morning on Boy Green Daily in the new year, so that'll be great. Thank you, Badshaw.
And his I don't want to get into the deep dark here, but yes, Trevon freed up now to work on his brother's legal defense. We heard about Stefon Diggs and the trouble that he's in. So, oh boy, that's another story to be following these days. Again, at this particular point, his attorneys and his camp is saying, this is completely
full deny, right?
So full denial is out there. We shall find out more, I'm sure, about this case. But yowza, I mean, talk about bad timing.
Well, I mean, and he had the stuff before the season with the pink stuff on the yacht and so it's been rough. I mean, the statistics have been good for Stefon and the Patriots and winning and divisions and all that, but a lot of off the field activity. So there you have it.
Well, as they say, let's put a nice neat bow on this one. So we will be back for a bunch of videos still to come this week. Mm-hmm. Anthony Prohaska, our Bills insider, gets delivered tomorrow. We've got picks coming on Friday. All right.
And a quick shout out here. If any of you, normally you'd be like, oh man, can't wait for that Jake Asman interview today here on a Wednesday. We adjusted our schedule, holidays, occasionally that's going to happen. So no Jake Asman this week, but the good news is we already have a Jets interview up for you. Nick Ferry, our beat reporter from JetsXFactor.com, joined us yesterday. Some very passionate things on tanking and Aaron Glenn job security and what to do in the draft and the Raiders likely having the number 1 overall pick. What does that mean? Advice for Jet fans. So very awesome 30-minute conversation with all things Jets. That's on both the Boy Green channel and the MC Show digital channel. I highly recommend you check it out on the MC Show digital channel. So a lot of great Jets nuggets in there that I highly recommend. So that interview is already up. The Giants interview this week is already up for you guys out there. Yep. So we got Bills tomorrow, NFL picks on Friday, and again, a new lineup of different stuff will be coming over the coming weeks.
Yep. We're putting our new lineup together. So, looking forward to all of that going forward. Folks, thanks again for tuning in. Put up the subscribe one more time, Boy Green. Again, if you're not a subscriber, I see there are over 200 people in the room right now. YouTube.com/@MCShowDigital. Make sure you go to that channel directly. If you're grabbing this from Boy Green's channel or from Twitter, you got to go over to our YouTube channel. That's why we've got the youtube.com/ in the front of our handle, and become a subscriber today. Again, we got about 11 slots to the Jets program. Manchild thinks he's going to give away his Anchorman bobbleheads, a set of 4 Anchorman bobbleheads that I got years ago. I think I'm going to give that away at $475, but we're working our way towards 500, where a very nice big prize, a brand new golf driver, Cleveland Highbore XL. It's sitting right in the corner here. I'm not going to reach over and get it. We've shown it on the air many, many times. All right, brand new, still wrapped in plastic. That's going to go away, going to go out the door when we get to 500 subscribers. So we're really trying to race our way to 500 here in the new year. So help us get there. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Join yourself if you're not already. It costs nothing to be a subscriber. Once we get to 500, we're going to start creating some cool specialty things for our viewers. So we can't do that until we get to 500. So we need your help to get there. So for everybody that's already a subscriber, thanks so much. For anyone that's not, get in on the club. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of great things coming into the year 2026. For Boy Green, it's the Manchild saying, Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you. Take care.